Now we talk about various scholarly opinions about the significance or relevance of ancient and medieval philosophical works about the modern life. Let's talk about a very important scholar, Yezikel Dror. He was born in 1928 and he is now Professor Emeritus of Political Science at Hebrew University in Israel. He provided pioneer writings in management, public policy, public administration, and uh, planning. It's very important work. His works are considered classic works in public policy. And his book, Public Policy Making Re-Examined, is considered a classic book in public policy studies. So he's very important policy scientist. If you want to discuss Yezikel Dror little more, his approach combines behavioral science and systems analysis for policy research, and he uses optimal model approach to evaluate the actual policy making. And he is the scholar who oriented public policy to scientific study. Okay, and what he says about the significance and relevance of ancient writings on political philosophy and political thought. He says from the beginnings of human thought, public policy making has been a central subject for study and discussion by social philosophers and practical politicians alike. And this quote comes from his book Public Policy Making Re-Examined, which is now in its 5th edition. It's very important book for the students of public policy. And from this quotation, you can know that human thought के शुरू से public policy making बहुत important subject रहा है political philosophers के लिए. इसका मतलब ये है कि public policy subject is not a recent subject, it has an ancient history. और अगर हम उन लोगों को एक मर्तबा समझ लें जो एंशियंट वक्त में काम करते रहे हैं पब्लिक पॉलिसी के मसाइल हल करने के लिए, तो हम ज़्यादा बेहतर स्टूडेंट्स हो सकते हैं पब्लिक पॉलिसी के. लेट्स टॉक अबाउट एडवर्ड शिल्स. एडवर्ड शिल्स born into 1910 and he died in 1995. He was distinguished professor on Committee on Social Thought. He was also a professor of sociology at University of Chicago. He wrote many books, but his main work has been published as the Selected Papers of Edward Shields, in which he discussed the relation and role of intellectuals with public policy and power. This is really one of the great works on public policy, its history and the role of intellectuals in the discipline. Now, what does he say about the significance of learning from the ancient and medieval political philosophers? He says the great figures of classical philosophy considered the fundamental problems of policy from the point of view of men who had to exercise authority and to make practical decisions. He also says that even where they themselves lived in remoteness from practical affairs, the clarification of standards for the judgment of public policy was always close to the center of their attention. Now, from this quote, we can know that the classical philosophers have always been involved in providing advice to the rulers, and they have been thinking about the public policy issues from the perspective of the people who were involved in ruling the societies. So he also testifies that public policy discipline and public policy thinking has a long history, has origins in the works of the philosophers of ancient times. Now let's talk about Peter Wagner, is very important German social scientist. And if you look at his work, he worked on the possibilities, successes, and failures of policy-oriented social science. And his claim is that policy orientation has been central to the evolution of modern social science. A lot of social science has been oriented to create knowledge about society, create knowledge about cultures, create knowledge about histories. But according to Wagner, a significant part of the social science has always been oriented to the policy. And what does he say? He says it may be argued that really much of the history of political and social thought is characterized by preoccupation with advice about courses of action and modes of training for rulers and would-be rulers. So this quotation really makes it clear that history में बहुत सारे लोगों ने जो बहुत सारा काम किया है politics में, that has been to provide training and to guide rulers on particular courses of action. So इससे हम ये जानते हैं या हमें पता चलता है कि हिस्ट्री में पॉलिसी एडवाइस प्रोवाइड करना बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट काम रहा है.